Yesterday, the Constitutional Court heard an application brought by the EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters, the United Democratic Movement, and the Congress of the People against the Speaker of the National Assembly, Baleka, Mbete, and President Jacob Zuma for various orders directed against the Speaker. Now, the Constitutional Court has reserved judgment on whether Parliament should institute impeachment proceedings against President Jacob Zuma. Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng says the court needs clarity on why it should intervene in Parliament's apparent inability to hold Zuma to account. Well, to talk more about yesterday's court hearing and what it means, we're joined in studio by Godrich Gardee. He's the EFF Secretary General. Good to have you in studio. Thanks for being our guest.
Good morning, Leanne, and good morning to your viewers.
It's great to have you in studio. All right, let's start off with what happened yesterday, because it was a very long day, very tiring day, I imagine. I think it was, 8 hours of argument. But the Constitutional Court didn't seem convinced that the opposition parties should have brought the matter to the court and instead should have dealt with it at the National Assembly. Are you hopeful that your application will succeed?
Thank you very much. Just before we answer that question, Leanne, we need to pay special condolences to the family and friends and his organization, Comrade Cindy Somakakla. And also take this opportunity to congratulate our President and Commander-in-Chief, who will be taking a second degree later this evening today at UNIS. And then coming back to your question, we were in the Constitutional Court yesterday. We followed up all the arguments that were put there. We tried our best with superior logic. And we're hopeful for a positive response from the court, and it will take between 3 to 6 weeks to get a judgment. It takes quite a lot of time because courts and the Chief Justice and the justices usually take their time to do a thorough research and a well-read and written judgment.
Yeah. So if we look at what actually happened, because, I mean, the argument is that there was not enough harsh punishment put towards the president, and your view is you feel he should have been impeached. However, we did see the president pay back a portion of the money. Do you not think that that was justice enough?
No. When you catch a thief, it's just not enough that the thief has decided to say, sorry, please, I'm paying you back. The thief must still appear before an inquiry, and it is the inquiry that will determine the extent of the sentence, if there should be any, and then the degree of remorsefulness and what next thereafter. But otherwise, it just doesn't end up there when Baba Tutuzane pays the money. He must still account, did he willfully, in bad faith or good faith, for some reason or the other, was it due to bad legal advice or whatsoever, that he found himself in the situation that he finds himself. But as a matter of fact, it can't be that you catch a thief and it ends up there when he returns your goods. He must still account for the conduct.
How, in your opinion, did the National Speaker and the President violate the Constitution?
Well, the letter and spirit of the Constitution envisages an activist speaker, a proactive speaker, a National Assembly that holds the public's representatives accountable, in particular the executive. The Parliament failed in its constitutional obligation in that it allowed Ubabaga Tutuzane to bring things that are not relevant in Parliament. I mean, the bioscope of the former Minister of Police, the SIU report to Parliament. Those were not meant to come to Parliament. Only the public report, the public protector's report, supposed to come to Parliament, and not this other bioscope. And for Parliament to allow those reports to be tabled before it was wrong. It actually second-guessed the public protector's report. That is how Parliament actually violated its constitutional obligation. More so that it had a whitewash committee that did not actually convene or summon or subpoena any documents or witness to appear before it. Hence, the economic freedom fighters actually walked out of that parliamentary inquiry committee of Minister Kupai, because it was nothing but a sham.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think on every occasion, I mean, I was listening yesterday and reading, I think within the National Assembly, there's been Q&As and Nkandla has been spoken about 27 times during the Q&A sessions. It's a lot of time dedicated to Nkandla and a lot of time spoken about it. But I think where you were coming from is the fact that you feel that you're not free to discuss it within the National Assembly. Mics are switched off. You're kicked out of Parliament. Members are not allowed to freely discuss. So what you're wanting is something installed to have a look at it, investigate the president's conduct, to have an independent body where mics can't be switched off. I mean, I'm just quoting the words that were used in Parliament. And of course, exercise the rules of 89.2 in terms of the Constitution. What would this committee entail? What would you want this committee to be made up of?
Well, Leon, you should imagine how the SABC inquiry looked like.
Okay.
It should be adversarial. It should be inquisitorial. The inquiry committee should have the right to subpoena persons, to ask questions, and the accused should have the right to cross-examine the witnesses of the committee, and the accused should actually also bring his or her own witnesses to the inquiry, whom he should lead into evidence, and they can also be cross-examined. And most important of all is Ubaba Tutuzana must take a stand, at least for a week or two, so that he can be grilled and be asked, where is the bond? Why you say you are not going to pay the money? Why did you lead us to where we are today? And all that, it must tell us, why did he apologize? We must be able to establish, was it in bad faith, was it in good faith, was it on a bad legal advice, or it was willful that he decided to breach his own oath of office.
You know, the argument from the National Assembly and from the National Assembly Speaker, Baleka Mbete, is that there have been numerous votes of no confidence against the president. And that, in, I suppose, their argument is saying, you know, that's enough to say that they failed. Every time you've had it, it has failed. So isn't that enough? No,
Lian. Motion of no confidence are not preceded by an inquiry. It's just a debate and a vote. Question and answers, the president can say, I have replied to that one, I have answered, and it stops there. And the more you ask, no, he has not answered, Ubabaga Tutuzande, switch off the mic, they call the white shirts, the bouncers, to come and remove you there. So it is not enough. What is more important is an inquiry, a trial like, wherein the president will be afforded the necessary opportunity to explain himself. What happened in Nkandla? Why did he think that this is a fire pool and not a swimming pool? Why did he say the crawl should be moved from here to there? And what did he think was happening with the public purse in his own eyes? Didn't it actually even click on his mind that something amiss is happening here? He needs to be afforded that opportunity. Otherwise, it will be unfair of him just to be impeached like that without a hearing, and for him to have actually said something about what happened in Nkandla.
President Jacob Zuma is, if all goes according to what we've been hearing, he will not be the president of the ANC come December. They'll have a new president. Then the elections come in 2019, and he, in all likelihood, is not going to be the president of the country either. Do you not is it not over now? You've tried so many different avenues and it hasn't worked. Perhaps this will work. I mean, obviously, we're going to wait and see. But do you not think, let's just end it now? Enough with the battle against President Jacob Zuma, and let's move on forward with debating bigger issues within the country?
The problem with this one is that for every minute and hour he's in an office, our economy is wreaking havoc to the economy. There's an exponential increase of an unemployment rate in South Africa. It's breaking all the institutions of democracy in South Africa. Before you know it, by the time it goes out in December, you will not have the Hawks, you will not have the NPA, you will not have SARS, you will not have a public protector, you will just not have any institution left to govern. Least we talk of the National Treasury. It will have been looted and gone to Dubai. More than 500 billion rand in illicit transfers by the Guptas is accounted for in Dubai. We can't wait for any minute, an hour with him in office. Either now he goes, and the worst part of it, you will agree with me, come December, whosoever takes office there, his wife has already said Ubaba will be there until 2019. We can't afford this man until 2019, Leon.
Do you think that Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma will take over leadership?
It's more likely with the shenanigans that are happening in that ruling party and with the support of the most corrupt president we have ever seen in this world. Nothing can be excluded from happening in December.
If you had to choose a leader for the ANC, who would you think could actually turn that party around?
No. We can't choose. Those ones should self-destroy and disappear and actually take that brand ANC into a museum, lock it up there so that all of us as South Africans, we can identify ourselves with it. Otherwise, they are just finishing the list that is left of it. And we really wish that they just do the right thing and just dissolve themselves. And those who are aspirant to be leaders and president of this country start their own political parties and leave the heritage of South Africa and the legacy of our forefathers and ancestors intact.
Just one final question, and I know that you also have an issue with President Jacob Zuma's son, Duduzane. I mean, you call our president Ubaba Duduzane. I mean, you referred to him the whole way through it. Did you watch the interview that he did with the BBC?
Well, I did watch it.
What did you make of that?
I think he's a scoundrel, that young man. I mean, he's asked, did it cross your mind that you'll ever get into jail? He said, huh? What is it? I see, it's just crossing. And it makes a mockery of a very serious matter of national importance in South Africa, when himself, his father, and his friend have actually transported no less than 500 billion rand out of the economy of this country. And he's not ashamed. In fact, we're just waiting for 2019. Probably before then, they will be in jail, himself and his father and the Guptas. He can't undermine this country like he did on that interview.
All right, so we await now the decision from the Constitutional Court, probably about, you were saying, 3 to 6 weeks?
Yeah, 3 to 6 weeks.
All right, we'll leave it there. Congratulations to Commander-in-Chief as well for getting his second-degree honours in philosophy, and I believe you also next year, LLB, the EFF
no
pushing
comment.
forward with... we'll comment about that next year, shall we? Good luck, though, with all of your exams.
Right.
And congratulations to Julius Malema today getting his second degree in philosophy this time. Let's take a break. We'll see you after this.